are so important. Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a year, but they underestimate what they can accomplish in 10 years. And I'm old enough now to understand that 10 years isn't very long, right? When I was in my 20s, 10 years seemed like forever. Now that I'm in my 40s, it goes by so fast. And the only way you're going to get where you want to go in the next 10 years is by making a plan or getting a vision and working on that day by day with good daily habits. Let's start here with trying to explain the idea of compound habits. We all understand the idea of compound interest. So if we have $100 and we get 10% interest, we get $110, right? And then if we leave that money alone, we get, and just let it keep compounding interest, we get another 10% interest, right? So we take our $110 times 10%, that's $121, right? And if we keep going down the thing, right? So $121 times 10% becomes 133. And you can quickly see how this compounding of the interest can greatly take this original $100 that we invested and turn it into $133. Then it's going to turn it into, eventually you're going to have a large sum of money. And the same thing happens with habits, right? If we take, it's harder to quantify habits, it's hard to measure habits. I mean, there's whole businesses and whole, thought processes about quantifying habits. I think, like, if you take Price's law, which basically means what, simply, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I got the wrong law here, but I'm pretty sure it's Price's law. It says what gets measured gets improved, right? And so we have to figure out ways, if we want to improve things, we have to figure out ways to measure them. And there's lots of different things, and you can research things, or you can just invent ways to measure what's important to you. But, we get the same idea there. So there's two ways we can compound our habits. One is by getting 1% better every day, right? So let's take exercise, right? So if you want to get fit, you get up in the morning, you do a workout. Well, the next morning you say, hey, I'm going to get out, but I'm going to make my exercise 1% better than it was yesterday, right? So that means I'm going to work out harder, or I'm going to lift heavier, or I'm going to go a little longer, whatever it is, 1% better. Well, if you get 1% better every day for 365 days, you're 365% better. But you're not 365% better, because if you compound that, right? Because if let's say you're at 1 the first day, well, you times that by 1%. 1%. Well, the next day you've got whatever that is, 1.1 times 1%, right? And so by the end of the year, you've compounded that habit, and now you've got this fantastic workout program, right? So the second way you can compound habits is by stacking habits on top of each other. So if you think about you becoming your optimal person, there might be a few different areas of your life. So you might want to say, health is one area of your life, right? And then you might want to say finance is another area you want. And then the relationships.
Mr. Ned.
What's up?
Mr. Ned.
Garrick behind the camera correcting my spelling. So if you get 1% better in each one of these areas, you would say, well, I'm just 3% better, but you're not, because your health is going to affect your relationships. If I'm healthier, I'm going to be happier. If I'm happier, I'm going to have an easier time with my relationships. If I'm healthier and happier with my relationships, it's going to make it easier to do a good job at my work, and it's going to make it easier for me to make a living. And so these things actually compound across each other. Again, like I say, it's a little harder to comprehend because you don't have the quantification that you would have under a dollar figure, but they work the same way.